To this I can in one video, but I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing here with this VW, this old Rabbit dash. You can't buy these anymore, and they are really always in super bad shape. This one's just wasted. So what I did is I peeled back all of the decrepit foam that was just completely cracked, and then repaired every crack with silicone, let it sit overnight. Again, I'll show you the back side, which I've already shown in another video, and reinforced everything with steel or aluminum, whatever I had laying around. And this is actually won't rust. It has a galvanized coating type of thing on it, but it's not galvanized steel. So this one is galvanized. I just had what I had laying around, and reinforce the cracks, so you can kind of see how that goes. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the vents out, and I'm either going to do one of two things. I'm going to try to stretch that vinyl over this, but not real confident it's going to make these bends here. Normally I'd have to pattern that and then go ahead and make that. I'm going to try and get this molding here off if I can, and then get these out. If I'm unsuccessful doing that, I'm actually going to coat it with fiberglass and paint it so that it's all smooth. So I do have that vinyl I bought a while back, and I'm deciding whether I'm going to do that or not. I haven't decided 100% yet, so it's going to be determined on some of the issues that I'm running into on this thing right now. So anyway, we'll take a look in the next part of this video and see what can be done. But just peel off everything, get it down to a smooth surface. Then what I'm doing here is, if you can see, I'm bringing this up nice and flush. Then I'm going to put another piece of white foam all the way to the very corner, and then you have to cut it really straight in order to wrap that around and get it to look right. So we'll do that, and then I'll show you some more in the next video. So on this piece, I found it easier to go ahead and just break out where the old speaker thing was. I have to build that out with foam so that it's flush here and nice and smooth. Otherwise, you'll see everything in the when you put the vinyl on, or if you fiberglass and paint it, you're gonna have a whole lot more work to do. Leaning towards fiberglass and paint, because I think it's just going to be too much work to get it to look good without that. So there's other foams you can use too. Some of the guys that do these things all the time know some new tricks, and we'll see what they do on input on this. All right, let's keep looking. So on the back side, I found these little clips to remove those wood grain moldings, and I'm going to go ahead and take those off with a screwdriver. Just be real gentle, because the wood here is just, this cardboard stuff is just shot. You can see where they actually sectioned this to a screen, and that's how they make this stuff. So they had like a screen pattern, and they made this whole thing with this, with paper pulp and a vacuum setup. We're not going to do that. Not on something this big. I've done glove boxes before, but this is way too much for that. Taking all the AC vents out, they're going to be pretty tough to put back in because they fit really tight. You have 4 push tabs from the inside. Trying to do it while it's in the car would be really hard to do. You really need to have this dash out. In the other video I showed, you got 4 screws here, and then you've got these clips along the front. So usually you can just unloosen those and then kind of give it a little wiggle. It'll probably fall apart, but you're going to glue it back together. So 4 screws, and then of course all your components have to be out, like your radio and all that stuff, but you leave these in because it's a lot easier to do it when the dash is out. So I'm just fighting my way along doing these little clips. It's no fun, but eventually they come off, mostly. Broke one of them, but Kind of give them a little wiggle, get underneath them, move them around a bit, and then finally they come off. It's going to go back and forth each side until it comes off of there. Well, I'll tell you, you just got to be determined to do this. And no matter what, you're going to have to just keep going. And you think, oh man, I don't know what, this isn't going to turn out right. You just keep going with it. And just work on one thing until it looks right, and then work on the next piece if you're trying to do this yourself, or just take it to a upholstery shop and have them do it. They can usually cut a pattern out and sew it in the machine. Some of them will do it after you've done work on it, but a lot of them won't. So keep that in mind. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and build this out with foam and finish putting the foam on, and then I'm going to silicone this in place. It's pretty well in place now, but I'll do that after I got the foam in there, and so I can keep working here. Okay, so I figured I'd just give you guys a little watch time on how you do this kind of thing. See, it fits too low right here, so I make a piece that fits the hole. Okay, so I'm going to cut this out. A good pair of upholstery shears is a really good thing to have for this. If you've got cheap scissors, it's going to turn out like crap. Okay, so if you want it to look like crap, use cheap scissors. So that's about what I need this to fit. It's a little high right here, but that'll probably have to cover this whole thing with one sheet when I get done with this. So what I'm going to do is I got to build this out underneath to fill in the void so it doesn't drop down in. So I'll just take a few little pieces here. My foam. Then I'll make filler for behind there. It might be, just make a small piece that's way smaller than that and use it to build it out. And you can piece this whole area together. You can put a little piece in here. It doesn't really matter. But when you do the last piece, you got to have it be pretty much seamless. So I'm just going to build out, put a few pieces in. Spray glue it. It's got to be a little bit dry, so you let your spray glue dry a bit. Get it wet with this one. I'm just blowing out a little bit so it dries a little faster. Build this out. Let's see. Then get your other piece in here. Make sure it's not going to be wavy. It's going to need one more piece thickness. So I'll just cut one out. Just going to need one more over here actually. And I'm going to feather out over to here. So this is extra low right here, so I have to kind of build it up a little bit. That's what the upholstery guys get paid the big bucks for. This is a bit of work. It's a lot of work to do this part. Make it look good. So I think it needs to be right here. I gotta cut it. Look at it, how it's going. These guys will cut the stuff at an angle. They'll put different types of foam in. There's stuff that they know that I don't know. So just showing you what I know. It's a little wavy right there. I have to put a little more piece in. I'll cut this one at an angle. Still sticky. piece in here. So you rub your hand on it, it's pretty smooth. Cut off these corners. So you can kind of see what you gotta do. The smoother you get this flow, the better your surface comes out when you're done. So, and what you do is not push down right here where there's a low spot. You let the foam kind of bridge across it. So you want to push down on the edge, but not right there, so it doesn't just follow that nasty stuff. So that's pretty much how that's going to go. Another piece is going to go over the top of this. We'll see how that goes. I'll pause this video and we'll move on to the next step. So you put the next piece on, then cut it around everything so that it fits, and tuck the corners in really good on the edges here. See if I can reposition this camera a little bit. Alright, so you can take a look here, see what we're doing here. Trying to get this thing to go into place. You don't need to have one continuous piece, but where you do butt it, it has to be really tight and really straight. So this is the hard part about doing this stuff. This kind of gives you an idea what you're up against. Of course, I started right in the wrong place, but I wanted that straight cut for the other side, so it'd be easier to lay out. Get this to lay down, or it's not going to look good. Perfect. So that's kind of how that goes real quick. One of the hardest parts about this is to get these holes to line up. A little bit too much glue on here. Make them look right. I don't know. Some of these upholstery guys are much better at this than me. I'm not an upholstery guy, but I'll fake it till I make it. I've seen some of these guys do it, but I haven't really seen the whole thing. Not many of them do on YouTube, so a lot of them out here don't speak English. So I don't know what YouTube is. This cardboard is so decrepit that you have to just be super careful. I'm going to try and clean this up with my scissors. Apparently, they say there's a way to sand this foam, but I haven't been able to figure that one out yet. That's got to be really straight too, or if this stuff is a little bit crooked, it'll look really bad. So I'm going to have to clean up that whole edge. I'm not certain exactly how, but upholstery scissors are probably the best bet. How you do it. Sand it or whatever. I'm going to make that edge look nice and clean. Well, we'll figure that out as we go. Alright, so I got to clean up these holes, make them look good, or it's going to look like crap. I don't even know if this thing's going to look that great anyway. Like I said, I'm not really a good upholstery guy. The guys who do it that I know that are really good, they aren't sharing anything on YouTube. They just want you to come to them, spend a whole bunch of money. You know, I figure somebody's got to learn how to do this stuff. Maybe one of you guys will learn enough from me, and then you'll learn how to do it right, and then you'll teach it to somebody else or something, you know. But all these little corners and pieces, you gotta come really straight and clean. This is where those good scissors come in. Nice long pair of scissors. Cutting these grooves really nice. This actually feels pretty good. Yeah, that'll probably look okay. I have this stuff cut really straight. Straighter and nicer when you get this part, the better it's going to look when the material's on it. So I don't know that I have the patience to do it really nice. See what a piece of sandpaper does on that. I'm going to try it, see what happens. So I'm trying a little bit of sanding here, and it kind of furs it up a little bit, but I can't say that this works. I don't know. Kind of feathers it down. It kind of does. This is 120. Maybe a finer paper might help. I'm going to put more glue right there. Well, it looks like I'm not going to be able to get all this in one video, so we're at 20 minutes right now. We'll try some more and see what happens. I'll keep going till it shuts off, and when it shuts off, I'll start another one. Yeah, just put glue on, let it dry, put it on, let it dry. Keep tucking until it looks good. I mean, until it's got to be on there. It's got to be like, every seam has to be tight. Everything has to be super, super, super perfect. Because whatever you don't have perfect, if you go to upholster this, recover this, you're going to see it. You know, I'm not sure if the guys use batting underneath this. I'm not sure if they use a duck, or they might be using, after you get done with this, I might put, you know, 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch scrim down, you know, and go over that. Might be easier. I'm not sure, but I'm going to try it like this, see how it looks, and I'll probably live with it. It'll probably look a whole lot better than it did. And just trying to figure out something for this dash. It just was so crappy looking that but you got to cut everything perfect now. I mean, it's like, I don't know if that's going to be good enough. I don't think so. To sand it, cut it, sand it. The scissors got glue on them, so that's not helping anything. Gonna wipe them off. That edge, get it really clean. Another thing you can do is to see if it's going to look good. Pull your, take your upholstery and lay it over it and pull it over it to make sure you can not see the. You can tuck it in the corners, or you know, right here on this edge. If you can see that, yeah, you can see it. You can pull your piece of upholstery over it. Let's get the piece of upholstery and take a look at that. See how it's going to look. So you can see there's a little bit of roughness, but man, it looks a whole lot better with that on there than how it was. So the hardest part is I should make a pattern. So when I do this, I should take this piece, lay it on top here, and then cut here, and then figure out what a piece I need to make, and then flip it inside out and make a pattern, sew it in the sewing machine. I might do that because it really wouldn't be that hard to do. Just put one seam right here and a little pie piece right there, and sure would look a whole lot better than if I didn't do it. But then when you seam it together, you've got to have the edge piece like this can't stick out very far, because when unless you tuck it in, leave this here and then tuck it into that so that your seam is behind there. Otherwise you'll see a big lump. But anyway, yeah, we'll just keep going and see what happens here. So yeah, I did figure out that 150 seems to work pretty good for sanding the edges. Knocks down the fur a little bit, gets it nice and clean. I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about here in a minute. So sand all this stuff here. Feathers it down a little bit. Get rid of that edgy look. It's hard to do, especially in these corners here. I'll get rid of all that edge on here, then I'll take an air blower, blow it off. This thing ought to look okay. Do this whole top piece, get rid of all the furriness from the scissors. So the trick is 150. Let's take a look at this here. Pull this out of the holster. So you can kind of see it just sands it nice and smooth. There's that little hollow spot. I could even tuck a little piece in there. It's all the kind of things you have to do. You've got to spend a lot of time on this. If you want to get it really nice, spend a lot of time and shape this foam and get it to look just perfect. And then when you put your material on, it will go really nice. You know, it'll look good. If you have little edgy stuff, little lumps and bumps, you're going to see every bit of it. So, am I that worried about it? No, not on this. I just want it to look better than it did, so I'm not going for a show car or anything like that. I'll let the guys who like to work hard do that. I was at a show this weekend and got a beautiful bus there. I mean, it was just phenomenal looking. But he goes, man, I go, wow, that's a really nice paint job. He goes, yeah, it was $30,000. I was like, that seems kind of cheap for something that nice. And he goes, yeah, I know, I thought it was too, but I had to have them painted 3 times to get it to look like. I'm like going, oh, great. So somebody spent $1,500 in materials 3 times for Glycerin paint, or $2,000 or whatever it was. That's $6,000 in material because they did it 3 times. Well, they didn't make any money. That's what people don't look at. They don't ever look at the other guy. He goes, well, I got what I wanted. You know, I got a nice looking bus. Well, yeah, you did. Bus looks great. Somebody went home and wasn't eating. They were not eating food. They were eating beans. To me, that's just not fair. I think if you don't like the paint job, you should offer them a little more money and have them do it then. Say, you know what? This is your $30,000 paint job? Yep, that's it. I'll tell you what, I'll pay for materials if you just shoot it again. Because I'm not happy with that. At least do something like that, because I can tell you right now, that guy didn't make a penny. And that's just not cool. Not in my opinion. Oh, you do that? You pay twice? Hell yeah, I would. Or I just wouldn't do the bus. One of the two. Anyway, this is kind of how you do it, looks like to me. Pick off all the little lumps and pieces. It's got to be smooth where you run your finger over it, and there's no edgy stuff. If there's any edgy stuff, every bit of that will pretty much show up in your, from my experience with foam and vinyl, which isn't as much as some, it'll show up. So make sure you get all that stuff down. Now, what I'm going to do, I'll show you what else I did, is on these vents here, I just went over them because if I cut that out, there's no place to tuck the stuff, so it'll just end up falling off again. Because you need it to be underneath here in these moldings and tuck underneath here so that it has a place to stay, because the vents will kind of hold this in place, but those vents are going to be really hard to put in. So keep that in mind. Up here, you can either, if your sides are in good shape, you could actually sand this down and feather it in so that you can go over that. I might just do that on this side. And then on the other side, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, because I got this big nasty piece here. I might put another piece just down here and then feather it in with sandpaper. You know, get it, smooth it out like this. You know, just sand it so it looks good. Feather it all out like I did the other side. See how this is all lumpy looking? I did it on the other side and it looks like this. So it's got to look like that or it's going to be showing. In fact, I don't know if I might stretch over that, but who knows? Might just tuck a little piece in there and sand it out. Make it, the nicer you make it, the better it'll look. So I did this over here. Put a piece in there, and that's all sanded smooth. You might see that seam a little bit, but it's going to have a button right there anyway when I sew it. But I'm going to go ahead and leave this line right here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side so it looks the same. And it'll follow this line, see, go along here just for fun. you can do whatever. You can even make flames with this stuff and put it in with that if you want. Alright, well, we're kind of looking like I'm just about done here. I'm just going to do a little blow off and clean up and maybe sand a few more things. But that's what I ended up with. Hopefully these holes are good. They got to be really good or they're not going to look right. But they look a lot better than what I had it before. When I get the material tucked in here, hopefully I can get it tucked in decent. I'll do a separate video on just covering this. So that's pretty much the prep for doing a dash cover. You know, you can see it's a little bit wavy, and you know, this cardboard, you saw what it looked like. It was pretty shot, so it's going to still look a little bit wavy, but it's going to look a whole lot better when it's covered than it does now, and a lot better than it did. I'm not looking, if I was going for the show car look, and then you just take metal and everything, whatever aluminum pieces, just make it look perfect, and then put your foam over it, and then when you put the stuff over it, it'll look perfect too. Alright, so that's it for the dash cover prep.